Okay, so it's exactly 21 minutes past 2 o'clock. Good afternoon and welcome wherever you are. You're listening to the official voice of Atlantic Broadcasting Corporation. We're broadcasting to you from the nation's capital, Monrovia, at the corner of Broad and Buchanan Streets. Let's run through this quick notice. The Atlantic Broadcasting Corporation, ABC Radio 105.1, will bring you full coverage of His Excellency Dr. President George Weah's 6th annual message to the nation. As Buildup To the President's address, a team of discussants will bring a pre-analysis of his speech at 2 o'clock. Join Joe Noto Wonder and his guest this hour. We will be live via our Facebook and YouTube page at ABC 105.1 Official. Please tune in if you can as we anticipate your participation. Okay, folks. So there you have it. We have Joe Nuta Wonder here sitting in the presenter seats. And as a matter of fact, he's here with his team of discussants, and they're going to have a cross analysis about the president State of the Nation address that is expected to take off later on this afternoon. So let me say good afternoon to you, Joe. How are you?
Yeah, good afternoon, McBorough. Clark, I sure I get the name correctly.
Yeah, McGoffrey.
McGoffrey. Okay, I said McBorough. Okay, McGoffrey. It's a pleasure again to be seated behind this microphone. Yeah, as you regularly heard from our producer, we got a packed house here, and with me this afternoon to dissect the president to his pre-analysis. The president's speech is Mr. James Cooper, his vice chair, Ways, Means, and Finance from the Coalition for Democratic Change, Slope MPP. And of course, I got Julius Canabai, a specialist in development and governance, journalism, and media. He's also a journalist. And of course, my immediate left here, I have with me Mr. William Tibe. Tibe is the head of the Veteran Bureau there at the Bakuba Avenue Do community. Gentlemen, it's my pleasure to have you all seated here this afternoon in our cozy studio.
Thank you very much.
Okay, to begin with, guys, the president within the next show, let's say an hour, half an hour, or hour 35, 36 minutes from now, the president of the Republic of Liberia will be giving his final speech to the nation, telling us all about the do's and don'ts and the better things he has done so far with respect to what is it unfolding. So let me just start up with Tibet, right to my immediate left here. Tibet, what's your own? If I tell you had to jump to the president truck and we're saying Liberia, what would be some of the things that you think the president will be aspiring on?
Well, let me say thank you very much for the correction. I'm Roland Jikpound Tiba.
Roland.
Yeah, Roland Jikpound Tiba.
Is that William?
Yeah, not William.
Okay, thank you for the correction.
The national chairperson of the Veterans Bureau of Liberia on the Bergube Avenue. Let me say thanks to the ABC family for affording us this opportunity to be able to air our view and our thought on national issue. So I'm grateful for the opportunity, and to Big Brother Joe, it is a pleasure sitting under your voice once more, and to my own friend and brother Kanamba, let me say thank you very much. Well, like you placed the question rightly, let me just hit the nail on the head. If you ask what would be in the president State of the Nation address few hours from now, number one is cataloging the development over the years, over the past 5 years, because he took on a nation with a lot of people having too much anxiety and hope for massive transformation. He took on a government that people feel that everything was going to be rosy. So with the mingled resources, with the challenges, that the past government left with the debts, with the health worker not being about 1,000 health worker not being on government payroll, with the bar rule condition in Liberia across the country, with all of the feeder rules, with the education system not being on par like our past government said, and people feel everything we're going to get at once over the last 5 to 4 years. So today's speech will catalog his achievement. Today's speech will catalog those things that with the meager resources, with our little income that we are generating from within, and the little resources that is from out, those things that he did, those reform, those achievements, and some of the progress over the years. So today speech will not just be about last year or this year. It will be about cataloging his achievement over the years, telling us where he took this country, how he have transformed it, and how he intend to see Liberia in the next 6 years to come.
Before I go to my other studio guest, you struck on two key issues, and I thought to bring you back to it. You said the anxiety or expectation was so high.
Exactly so.
Now, is it they just jump out to have this anxiety or expectation being high, or with all the president giving them the assurances? Oh, I will build skyscraper in the sky, and I will let your children, each of them be having computer in the various schools. Because of what the president did say, I believe that what made the expectation will be so high.
So it's an open challenge. I stand to be corrected. Mm-hmm. When President Weah and the CDC government was campaigning to ensure that the Liberians trust them with their vote and their power, I stand to be corrected. President Weah did not promise any Liberian to say we will transform Liberia from where it is to make it to a saving heaven. I challenge any journalist, any radio station to play that with.
Yeah, but the fact remains that
I come to the point.
I just want to interject this. The fact remains that once you ask for people mandates, give me this thing, I can do it better than XYZ. It means that, look, you know what? This man did XYZ, but I can do it better than that. I should have Liberian got convinced, so the expectation will actually triple rather than double.
No, but it's always the case. Once there have been transformation and transition, there will always be expectation over the year, even in your homes, in our various homes. When someone leave one stage to another, people expect transformation, and there are transformation under this government, and we'll come to that. There has been progress and there have been challenges. We are not saying all is rosy over the last 5 years.
Okay, we're not saying all is rosy over the last 5 years. Let's go to Kanaba. You just heard one of our panelists with respect to it. So the same question goes to you. What is it you think you can talk about today? The president will be part of the president's speech, whether positive or negative.
Well, first, thank you for the invitation, and thanks to the other panelists who are here in studio. I also like to commend you for your facilities. This is my first time here. I'm officially in the studio, and thanks for the efforts and the work you've been able to do. In terms of the president's speech address or message to the legislature, first, I'd like to state that it is in line with the Constitution, especially Article 58 of the Constitution. And it spells out the objective or objectives of the speech. I know sometimes we like to say it is the State of the Nation address, but technically or correctly, we should say it is the State of the Republic address per the Constitution. Yeah, because the State of the Nation is something maybe taken or borrowed from somewhere else. And then the president or presidents normally title the address as the annual message to the legislature. So you can also say the annual message because first, the president will have to present the administrations, meaning his administration's legislative program or agenda for this current session of the legislature, because the legislature has just resumed, and so he'll be presenting that particular legislative program at the legislature. And then secondly, he needs to comment on the state of the Republic. And this is where the president has got a leverage to deciding as to how to structure the speech. And so, from my own analysis of the past speeches or annual messages of the president, you see that they will focus on the politics in the country in terms of the different political developments. They will also come to the economy because as part of in the constitutional requirement, it is stated the president will have to comment on the expenditure and the income of the country, meaning the economic and fiscal policy of the country. I mean, how the country is being governed economically, and then when it comes to the expenditure and income aspect, we are just talking about perhaps the fiscal budget, but also looking at the monetary policy. So the president will be elaborating on some of these issues, and going back, it's a 1-year address. I know our brother, he's right to say the president might want to summarize, his entire administration from year 1 to year 6, because this is the final under message or State of the Republic address by President Weah, unless he's re-elected. And so it's a good opportunity to also summarize what he has done over the last 6 years, but specifically it's a 1-year address. So 2022, all of the happenings in the country will have to be reflected by the president, because in 2021, when he was addressing the legislature, he mentioned, in 2022, when he was addressing the legislature about the state of the republic in 2021, he reflected, for example, on the tragedy that happened on the Buju Island, Nukrutan, in which I think 29 persons got dead as a result of a stampede. And then he came down to mention about his legislative programs, in terms of the bills that he will be submitting and the bills that were passed by the legislature in 2021. And so the president will have to focus on some of these legislations because all of the laws that are passed in the country, they've got serious implications as to how our society is governed, as to how development can be elaborated and implemented in the country. And so the address itself is very important because it brings together for the first time the 3 branches of government. Because we have this sort of a republican system of government where we have a separate but coordinate branches of government. And so this is one of the first times, in the year, for the 3 branches to sit together, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. The address itself is within, the legislature, so it's very important. So President Weah will also speak about the foreign policy of Liberia. That is our relationship in the sub-region, the Mana River region. I go to the West African region, ECOWAS, that is the economic community of West African states, and then the African continent, and then going abroad, especially our relationship with America. And that's where the issue of corruption will have to be reflected. Because for the first time in the recent post-conflict history of our country, we've had a foreign power intervening visibly in the governance of our country in terms of sanctioning officials of government who are thought to have been engaged in corrupt activities, right? I say alleged or are thought to be, right? So you have, for instance, the Minister of State, in the office of the President. You also have the Managing Director at the National Port Authority, and then, the former Solicitor General of our country. Well, so if the US government is sanctioning officials of the Liberian government, it speaks something about the weakness of governance to some extent in terms of the aspect of transparency and accountability. So the president will have to reflect on his fights against corruption. On the issue of governance, you could talk about the rule of law, for example, how the rule of law sector, has been able to function. People have been complaining about security and insecurity in some instances within the last period. And so the president will have to also speak about some of those issues. Then when it comes to the empowerment of females, for example, or women, the president will have to reflect on it, because in 2022, he was talking about being the feminist in chief. And so how can he now measure his pronouncement about being a feminist in chief with the present situation that he has been able to observe across a period of time. Because
Julius,
if I can remember, he called a conference. There was a big conference in which he talked about allotting a specific portion of the budget or specific fund to ensure that women have got access to certain positions of power, but also targeting sexual gender-based violence in the country.
Julian, if I can hold you there quickly and come up with this quick question. The allegation with respect to the 3 officials of government that were placed on sanction by the American government, but political opponents will say, but these were not people that were captured under the Liberian spotlight in terms of corrupt activities.
Yeah,
it's form part of his speech?
No, it will have to. I mean, because it is not a small thing for presidents, we as authority, to be questioned, right? Because, for instance, the 3 individuals had to resign from the government. And President Weah had explicit confidence in those officials. I mean, if they were now going to be sanctioned by the US government, they couldn't have been removed easily from the government through dismissal or through presidential action.
How do you think the presentation will be like in the speech that we're about to hear in the next maybe an hour plus from now?
I mean, the presentation in terms of corruption.
Yeah,
I mean,
in terms of the 3 presidents in particular. How do you think?
Well, the president might not go into it deeply. He might say yes, there have been challenges with the issue of corruption, and his government has been working. For instance, there's this particular phenomenon about reform at the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission in terms of changing the institution. I mean, there was a case which, of course, I think the Supreme Court just handed down a ruling involving the former, the chairperson or executive and the director of the LCC. So on the issue of corruption, the president will have to obviously comment, but given the magnitude, because foreign policy wise, I mean, the president has been to the United States. For instance, he met President Joe Biden during the US Africa Summit, and so all of these things will have to be reflected. And so with the 3 officials, I mean, it was a big development in the country. If the president would like to choose, I mean, to brush it, I mean, it is his right per the constitution, because it said the state of the republic. And so perhaps he might not see it as significant as some of us are seeing it. He might not want to reflect upon it, but it's a significant dimension to speak about, especially if it means well for transparency and accountability. Because my thinking is that this is significant in the sense we've not been strong in fighting corruption. That is why the Millennium Compact, that we needed to get. I mean, during the Sirleaf administration, for instance, they were able to attract, I think, $500 million under this particular arrangement, right? So if you fail repeatedly in passing that particular those particular requirements in terms of corruption, the rule of law, good governance, it means, I mean, the country is facing some challenges. We also expect that the president, as he would normally be expected to do, who speak about the issue of freedom of speech, political rights in civil liberties. These are some of the things that the president or his administration has been able to work to improve upon. And this is a result of the democratic practices or processes that are unfolding in the country. So, for example, media freedom, we've not had, this sort of a repeated pattern where journalists are arrested or detained or intimidated or violated massively. Although we've had some instances, right? But as the country democratizes, you will see there will be some level of reduction in some of these practices, violating the rights of journalists. Even the issue of peaceful assembly now is becoming a daily practice now. People are getting to the streets. I mean, political parties are writing the Justice Ministry and they are getting their permits. In as much some of us we say, I mean, per the Constitution, you are required to peaceable assembly. Although the Justice Ministry will tell you that yes, we need to be informed so that the police can provide protection. But at least the administration has recognized as a issue that people have got the right to assemble and to petition their government.
So these are some of the success stories so far. You think that will come?
Yes, the president will have to elaborate on some of these things. And one thing that I don't expect the president to say, which of course has been happening in Liberia, is that the first term of President Weah, there is a pattern of in the stability in the cabinet, what I call cabinet stability, right? You've not had instances where the president is, continuously firing ministers.
Reshuffle.
You might want to call it a reshuffle, right? I mean, there was a particular period of time where some people within society, other political parties or ordinary Liberians, were concerned, for example, about the economy. They were pushing for the Minister of Finance and Development planning to be dismissed. That did not happen. At a certain stage, there was a call for the Minister of State for Presidential Affairs to be dismissed. That did not happen. So you can see that most of the ministers who were changed, either there was a rotation, meaning, for example, Eugene Nagbe left from the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism to go to Maritime. And then the former Agriculture Minister, I think there was a problem, he was dismissed, and then we had a new Agriculture Minister. And then you can be able to see that the Ministry of Public Works, is a result of death, for instance, where the late Minister Mambutu Yipan and then the deputy had to ascend.
Yeah,
so
Wisin Tape as well.
Yeah, Wisin Tape. No, Wisin Tape.
From
Yes,
Congress to
it was a controversial, shifting, so to speak.
You may say that.
because he was linked to the Propo Small Loan Development Program, right? It was controversial.
It was not.
It's yet to come up to a conclusion with respect to Prophet Tape.
Yeah, but it happened in that interval.
Yeah,
so
let me hold you there and go quickly to James. James, by the way, if you are listening to us, it's ABC Radio 105.1, and of course, I'm here with a team of panelists, including. Let me make sure, because people's names are very important that you have to be careful with. I got James Cooper, he's the Vice Chair for Ways, Means and Fairness for a coalition of Democratic Change stroke NPP. And of course, Julius Kanaba, your specialist in development and governance. He's a journalist as well. And of course, I got Roden Tibet, he's the veteran bureau head here from Bakube Avenue Do community. So, James, you think the president, part of his speech will include the bread and butter issue that today have become the biggest talk around the city?
Again, my name is James D. Cooper,
Yeah.
the Vice Chair on Ways, Means and Finance of the National Patriotic Party Youth Council /CDC. Okay, one, the legislature will sit in the joint chamber to listen to the president legislative agenda for the year 2023. Because this year is an election year and is the last term in his first term, so he will give an overview of his government from day one to this date. And today, again, the president will be telling the international community and Liberian outside, giving them the surety that his government will conduct the 2022 election in a free and fair manner. Again, the president will be telling the Liberian people what he took Liberia from and what Liberia is today. Many people will say it cut and paste. But if you look at the first tenure of every president, when it coming to a climax, that president gave the deal 1 and 2 present. So President Weah will go into that. Again, bread and butter. You talk about bread and butter.
Yeah.
The opposition guys recommended that the government should at least forget about giving subsidy to the rice importers, which of course the government listened to that. Today there need enough rice on the market.
By the way, James, if you come into that, what happened to the 11 million we're talking about? If I told you, you say
you listen to the importers. The importers said, some of them said they received the money. Some of them said because there were other things and they couldn't receive the money. And some people stop importing rice. So once you stop importing rice, government can give you the money. So those who was importing, government subsidized their imports. So again, the legislature focus today will be on what the president is bringing for them to work with. So I see people from one place to another place saying, President, we do this. Of course, the civil servant is listening. They want for the salary to be increased. And the president will be reporting to the Liberians on the meeting that he have with the American president. The president will be reporting to the Liberian on the effect of the Russia-Ukraine war. So the president will be telling the Liberians about the development, the road connectivities in the country. All those things will be brought before their lawmaker.
Do you think the president will come over a clean sheet with respect to the civil servant concern? Because they keep saying that their little take-home plastic based salary, I mean, a gauge. If I try with you,
if you look at the entire process, the harmonization process, I think it brought more people on payroll. Those teachers that were voluntary in the various counties, now they are taking pay directly, and I think the civil servant will reason, and the president get a package for them today. The president have a package for them today. And if you go in the education system, in the education sector, there are more things that is happening in the education sector. Now, if you go to Lofa County, there is a multi-lighter school almost completed 95%. If you go to Maryland County, there is a multi-lighter school that is 100% completed. If you go to Rogie County, there is a multi-lighter school that is 85% completed. If you go to Greenville-Sano County, so the president is focusing in all the county. He will tell you the development he taking to those counties. He will give you the day-to-day activities in the various county. If you come for road connectivities, the president will be telling the legislature, hey, those from Maryland County. The previous government began the road from Maryland County and they brought it to Fishtown. I'm taking it from Fishtown, carry the Grange there. And it's already in process. Oh, look, the former president left the road in Ganta. I'm taking it from Ganta, taking it to Sanikwede, Yekepa, and to go to Lokato border. Oh, but you lawmakers, I'm taking the road from Ganta, carry it to Tapata, for Tapata to go to Zwoju. So the president will be telling you what he have done and what his government is doing for the people. So today's thing, it will be 100% touch from both sides.
Today's thing will be touched 100% from both sides. Now, let me come back to Tibia. Tibia, I want to find out from you quickly. Don't judge me by the eloquences of my speeches, but judge me by the decisions that I made.
Before he come,
okay,
that war, because of that war now, we have more multi-lighter schools being made in the various counties. We have the Embry Hospital. We have the 100-bedroom hospital that under construction in Grange County. We have the same in other counties around here.
Yeah, but Julius made mention of something very cardinal.
What?
Jesus says in our quotes that he didn't listen to the people concerned with respect to reshuffle or removing government officials from one end to another end. Because he said, don't judge me by my eloquence, but by the decision that I would take.
As an administrator, sometimes you don't just listen and just take action. You have to know what are some of the causes. Like in the case of the father minister, everyone know when we took over, everyone know the economy, how the economy will mix up. So you needed a father minister that could stabilize the country. The first 2 years, you saw what we went to. Now see what we are. So President Weah was working as and is working as an administrator, not just dismiss this person and dismiss the person. So that war, he still live by it.
Okay.
So thank you very much. I think every leader, your ability. I think the Bible said it. It said, "Be fast to hear and slow to speak." It's biblical. So you spoke of. I listened to Canada talking about decision of removing people out of the government reshuffle. Is it about changing or you want to get people there doing the right thing? You just want to change because you have more people on the bench, because you listen to the noise. Oh, Canada is not performing. Canada wearing white shirt, blue tie, so it must be removed. In a political process, people target your best everywhere around the world. When you and myself going to a football match, I will pray for your best to not come on the field.
Of course.
So I'll be able to score and defeat you in the process. Let's come to administrative reshuffle. I did public administration. Not everything in the great van the administrator will respond to. Not every information in ABC radio, because somebody says something about the boss or something happening, and what is far from the truth. The boss will just come and execute because somebody say. Over the years, like my brother said, looking at where the country came from, where we took over this country, you needed somebody who has the courage, who is dedicated, who willing to work overtime to ensure that the economy gets stable. To where you might not like him, but he's one of Liberia's best. Tuwe is a minister among all of the ministers that are willing to give his time, his energy. Over the time when we were doing that reform, Tuwe used to be up to 2 in the morning. They would bring his food to his office.
So you sure you are telling me?
I come in.
No, I don't want to infuse this. You sure you are telling me that Liberians are the custodian of their own economy?
But you know that. You know that over the years.
How do I know?
How do okay? One aspect for over the years, they got keep talking about bread and butter issue. That where I come in and say, what do we want as a country? The first thing we'll be able to identify what we need. What is our need? What is our wants? As a country, do we need Black or Red to come down to $20 and the roof on your grain could be deployable to all? All the government did that. They brought the express down. Things were cheap on the market. But to leave for here and go Grenky, you take 4-5 months. To leave for here to go Sunny Cody, you take 6 months. You take 2-3 weeks on the road. For development to come, you see, we keep comparing Liberia with Dubai, Liberia with Ghana. Do you know why it took Jerry Roden to get Ghana on the path it is today? It takes sacrifices. It takes time. People must be able to analyze what we want now. Either we go for development or we go for a short-term project. And in governance, we must be able to decide what we want. President, over the years, he had the ability to say, okay, you spoke of the agriculture sector. Do you know every agricultural produce coming in this country, you will not pay tax? There was just an executive order issue. There are things we have to do to put our hands to it. There is about time we choose development over rhetorics. There is about time we choose the hospitals, we choose the schools, we choose professional people over rhetorics. Come on, this the way people just say, oh, the men are doing it. That thing, or to be a leader for a group of people, you must first understand their ability. And the first thing you must be able to understand. Kanama spoke about corruption. Everything, I must appreciate the American government. I went on my Facebook page calling on the American government not to just sanction, not to just accuse, but should also go follow by prosecuting. Because United can say Joe Wonder is a corrupt man, and he putting in the space, his family is in the dark cloud, and up to present he cannot call for investigation. You have the evidence. America is so sophisticated to the extent that when they say Tiba is corrupt, they have done all of the fact finding. They have done all of the analysis. So when you have all the pieces of evidence, turn it over to our judicial system, then the people be prosecuted. Because when you single out an individual from the offices of the president, it speaks volume. When you single out somebody from the gateway of the country economy, you say that person is corrupt, it speaks volume. When you single out someone from the judicial system, the people that are prosecuting, that are enforcing the law, when you say someone is corrupt, it speaks volume. I'm calling on the American people today, using your platform, not just about censoring, but it's about prosecuting, giving them the due process. Let them have the time in court. When you cannot do it in the United States, send the piece of evidence to the LSCC. Someone spoke of about the instrument that President. Yes, there are good laws on the book, and we are grateful to President. We are that today journalists can say whatsoever they want. Nobody is tracing people. NSA car is not tracing people day and night. Costa said the worst about this government. Martin Cody do whatsoever you want. More will write whatever you want. More will be all over the place. More has never wanted to cry say people trading a car. So these are freedom we fought for. These are things when you talk about development. A developing country is the mindset living up to the rule of law. Over the years, I can retrospect people who went to jail because they said something about somebody. I challenge any politician to say under this government, someone says something about somebody and the person is in jail. There's no political prisoner. President we are, yes. When you talk about he's the female in chief, can 7, can 10 out of 9 out of 10 in every government ministry, either the director will be a male or the deputy will be a female. Almost all of the ministry, you get the minister that male, the deputy a female. Here you get you get the director as female, the minister is the deputy is a male. As CSA, the director is a male. Jim Thompson, the deputy is TTP. National Port Authority, the female. Governance Commission, the deputy, the female. And the list go on. General Ministry. Administration of Finance, you have deputy as a female. So, President in his own thought, this is just about the people. He's giving the space so that every one of us can be involved. And this is why I keep telling Liberian people, I'm so grateful that today the judiciary system of Liberia is being tested day by day. I can wake up today and feel disenchanted and test the system.
You sure of
I come in. People say this government, and when I read through the act that created new LCC, I pitied the presidency. I actually pitied the presidency because it gave more rights and power to the LCC. When the legislature, when that bill was being introduced, people said they were wishing because Martin was being vocal, Martin was fighting corruption, Martin was doing this, so people were targeting him. But when we hardly read, when I got that instrument, I went through it, the power it have ascribed to the LCC, it is more than ever before. Today, people feel Martin went all on BBC, said, oh, the people they wish hunting me, they do not want it, in fact, a complaint. Since the justice in chamber dismissed that case, I expect the opposition now to be hearing President we are right here.
No, but the verdict is new of 50-50.
It's about 50-50. The first thing, the legislature has the right to enact any agency and ministry. Any agency. And the agency created by the legislature, they have the right to rectify it. So when the legislature let us do this, to LSC they been crying for prosecutorial power. LSC been crying, say, over the years, our hand time, we're going to do this. The legislature in their wisdom, the president in his wisdom said, okay, let us. Say the guys been crying for power, their hands are tied. Let us give them the space. And the space has been created. The space has been given to them. We must hail President Weah and this government for affording us, ordinary Liberian, the LCC, the power.
Okay, let me hold you at that. About 3 o'clock, on 2 minutes, we'll be joining our legislative reporter at the Capitol building to tell us exactly what is unfolding outside. But notwithstanding, I'm here in studio with 3 distinct Liberian personality in person of Mr. Judah Kanaba. He's a media executive, and of course I got James Cooper. James Cooper is also a politician. He's from the Ways, Means and Finance area that of the NPP, and of course the CDC, and of course Roden Tiber. Roden Tiber is head of the Veteran Bureau. So let's take this quick break. When we come back, we'll be talking to our correspondent just over at the Capitol building. So, producer. ABC Radio 105.1. Of course, I'm Joe Wonder moderating alongside here with my professional colleagues. They from the political and, of course, civil society standpoint of our society today. In person of James Cooper, his vice chair, Ways, Means, and Finance, Coalition of Democratic Change, stroke NPP. And, of course, Julius Canaban, he is especially in development and governance and in journalism and media. He also a journalist. And Roland Tibet. Tibet is the head of the Veteran Bureau, Bekube Avenue, Dole community. On the line, we have our correspondent there at the Capitol building in person of Jackson Clay. Jackson Clay, are you there? Hello, Jackson Clay? Jackson Clay, are you there? I wonder we're having problem reaching to Jackson Clay. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm getting in now. Jackson, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Joe, and good afternoon to your studio panelists and Liberians listening to you via our airways.
Okay, it's about 3 to 4 minutes after 3 o'clock. Tell us what is unfolding over there at the executive, not executive manager, but say, at the Capitol building.
So thank you so much for joining me. So the grounds of the Capitol building, I can say, is a scene of joy and excitement here. We've got cultural troops from various cultural departments, and we got people from diverse background here jubilating. We're witnessing also the arrival of some key government officials like Madam Mary Bro of the GSA, Deputy Finance Minister Samara Wolokoli, Public Works Minister, and many other officials.
Oh, we just lost him there, but let's try to see if we can reconnect with him. But Jackson Clay was on the line not too long ago, but we just lost him. But let's go back to see what we can get back to Jackson Clay. You're filling us in with a lot of information with respect to what is unfolding on that side. Okay, Jackson Clay will soon be back in a jiffy, so let's reconnect with him. But in the meantime, you listen to ABC Radio, and of course, it's a special on the president pre-analysis, the speech that is coming. Okay, Jackson is back on the line. Jackson.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Okay, you are in speech when the phone went off, so just complete that statement.
Yeah, so as I speak to you, you can just in the background, and my background is very noisy. So there are a group of women with blue and white lapel tie on their head. They are in cycle now with Representative Thomas Fala of Monserrado County, District Number 5. So he's parading with them throughout the Capitol building as we witness the arrival of some key government officials.
Okay, Jackson, let me just ask you one simple question, and a lot of people want to follow up with respect to that. What is dress code look like today? Are everybody in a European dress code, or some of them are all dressed up in a Liberian costume?
So the dress code here is various. Although we have people who wearing our traditional suits, that is the African suit, or what we call the purple suit, and we also got people here in the Western suit, that is foot suit and what have you. So the dress code here varies from group to group. So we got cultures who are in the traditional cultural attire, and we got the different kind of suits here.
So unofficially, the program is supposed to be kick-starting by maybe on 54 minutes. So tell us exactly what is the whole formality look like now.
So currently, EPL and security personnel on ground here are ordering visitors and special invitees to their respective seats, because any moment from now, we will witness the arrival of the international community and other key government officials as well. So the protocol here, security, as you come in, the security takes you to that is the EPS or SS, I will say, and it will take you upstairs to where you're supposed to be seated as we all await the arrival of His Excellency President George Manawia.
So there's nobody that can make the way easily besides having a pass.
No, it's not possible. Doing so will be at your own risk and at your own detriment. So you will not want to do that to jeopardize the program or to cause embarrassment for yourself. Yeah, you will not want to do that. But the security here is tight and in place, and everything here is cool, and everybody is moving about their normal businesses.
Can you please tell us exactly what it looked like there from the Senate and the legislative side of them, because they are the hosts? Are they all in their homes now and waiting their guests to come?
So yeah, both of them are already here. Both of them are already here, but they are in their offices until the section can be called to order. So they are in their offices. Lawmakers, senators, and representatives are at their offices. So until at which time there will be session called to order, then everyone will move to the joint chamber of the legislature, at which the program can commence from that point.
Jackson, I know it's a hefty tax on our side, so keep us posted just in case anything. Just you can let us know that we can get you back live on air while we're still here trying to dissect and preempt. The president's speech as I said it. But by the way, did you ever had the time to see it?
You say I didn't get that part
The
of it.
president's speech. By
No,
any means of
it hasn't been released to the public yet. I think it will be released upon the delivery of that speech. So currently,
you are
there's no one having access to that speech.
Generally can always find time to figure out something, man. What do you think? Nothing at all? You didn't see anything?
No. I don't want to preempt. I don't want to preempt anything. I have not seen anything. I don't want to speculate here. I have not seen anything as it relates to that speech.
But what is that on the what do euphoria look like?
So the euphoria here, like I said again, the point of excitement, partisans of the coalition for democratic change are in jubilant mood here, and other political parties, fanatics are here. But on the overall, the CDC has sufficient members here, sufficient partisans who are here to jail the president and this government as they deliver on the last State of the Nation address for the first term of the president.
Before you go, are there any sign of the opposition representation over there?
I can hear you say.
Any representation from the opposition political parties? Are they there?
So I saw a few members from ALP and the Alternative National Congress, but then they managed to make their way in. So I saw a few members from those two groups. Yes.
Okay, Jackson, it was a pleasure talking to you.
The pleasure is all mine as well.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, we heard from Jackson, our correspondent there at the Capitol building. Will be filling us in. So far, so good. Julius, let's go back to the table. Now, from where we sit, what you make of this issue that had to do with development in its totality? Because the president boasts a lot about developing this nation. You sure it will form part of his speech today? Because if I can recall, some few weeks ago or days, maybe a week and plus, out of one of these activities where he was giving out jacket. He said, life jacket. He said, and I quote, my administration is the only administration that have actually developed this nation beyond expectation. What you look at that statement?
Well, first, it is difficult to evaluate the statements because from every administration to another, there will be specific governance or development challenges. So sometimes some of these, sweeping broad statements can be hard to immediately investigate. You have to take time because development, as we normally say, is a process. So if you want to evaluate the WIA administration and the J.J. Roberts administration, what will you be looking for? The challenges of J.J. Roberts in 1847, 1848, 1849 will not be the same challenges as 2023 or any other presidents, whether it could be WIA or any other president. So there are differences. So we have to understand. Yeah, but sometimes, politically, some people can claim that yes, I'm the best president, but the challenges are different. In 1848, if you read the first State of the Republic address, by J.J. Roberts, for instance, they were focusing on different issues at the time. By that particular time, it was the process of state formation, right? How to build the Liberian states. We did not have, in fact, all of the counties that we have presently. You only have what we call the littoral Liberia, the coastal belt, right? You have Montserrat going to Bassa, you go to Sino, you go to Maryland, So the challenges of 1847 or 1848 are different from the challenges of 2023 or from 2017 or 2018 to now. So if you want to compare the Weah administration and the administration of Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, you also have to be clear as to the circumstances on Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf and the circumstances on President Weah. So sometimes us as students of comparative politics, we tend to be very, very careful. You don't just compare, right? Because I mean, the President Weah, in like you rightly saying, like everyone on the panel has said, President Weah in 2022, for example, he said that the budget, the fiscal budget, will be used in a more transformative way, and by that he said he wants to focus, for instance, on roads, right, on electricity, on education, national security, health, water and sanitation, transportation, and then several other sectors of our country. And so if you want to compare President Weah in terms of the developmental outcomes or developmental achievements, you have to go now and look at the proper agenda for prosperity and development and say, for example, what does the agenda promise? I mean, what did it promise on the issue of education? How many persons will be in school? For instance, I think at a certain point, not last year, but President Weah, I mean, the government took a policy, for instance, to declare public university education as free. I mean, in terms of tuitions. So you have to look at it and look at the impact, right, before you can say, oh yes, this policy has been able to achieve. So roads, right, you got to see how many kilometers of roads have been constructed in what sectors of the country, and how the construction of those roads will impact the nation transformatively. For instance, the Sirleaf administration could say, okay, we'll build from Red Light to Banga, from Banga to Ganta. The Weah administration say, okay, since we took over in 2018, we'll build from Ganta to Sanikwale, or we are now focusing from Lofa, I mean from Bong to Lofa. So you can compare, those sort of things. But you can't.
Roland says that the President Weah chose to go for hospital, to go for roads. Are not those achievable? Because these are things that
they are achievables. I mean, nobody is denying the fact, right? All of the things President Weah has done, they are things that we can be able to see and evaluate. But I don't like people making unnecessary comparison, right? Because when President Sirleaf took over in 2006, I mean, that's the most recent comparison that we can attempt to make, right? The situation of hospitals were not like to build hospital at that time. No, it was not to build hospital. You needed to reform and rebuild those facilities, reconstruct. That's why we had this sort of reconstruction programs. Even I got the OMIO that was in the country, it's a quick impact projects. So you needed to have the Redemption Hospital functional, because it was not functional as a result of the war and as a result of the poor governance under President Taylor, so to speak. And you had the JFK, for instance, you have to re-equip those facilities. So if those previous governmental facilities are functional, then you talk about building new ones, which of course President Weah has been attempting to do. I think one of the panelists mentioned the issue of the Emirates Hospital in Bapulu County, for example, right? So first, there was no good passable road from here to Bapulu County. So the Sirleaf administration tried to open the road. The Weah administration has also been working to open the road. So government is a continuity. It's a continuous process. Every administration will set their agenda. So President Weah will be evaluated cumulatively for the 6 years period he has been at the president on the basis of what is reflected in the proper agenda for prosperity and development, in what he's been able to do within that particular time. So if, for instance, you are looking at water and sanitation, how many persons have got access to water? And how many persons have got access to good facilities in terms of sanitation, right? So you can be able now to judge President Weah on that. And this is what we are expecting, right? That in the State of the Republic address, President Weah will be able to tell us that in 2022, my government or my administration was able to make Liberians to have access to this and that, right? The issue of electricity, for example, the Sirleaf administration had their own agenda. They said, okay, we want to restore demand coffee hydro plant, right? We're not going to build a new hydro plant because there's something in development studies that would normally say you have to build upon what has been existing, before you try to go to a new phenomenon, because you got to sit, as we normally say in our Liberian parlance,
common sense.
Yeah, you got to sit on the old mat before you plant the new one, right? So once you have the old mat, well functioning, to its best ability, you can be able to think about different things, and that's what President Weah has been able to reflect upon too as a president. And any president who will come after President Weah, whether he's re-elected and then he says another term, he final term, that president will have a different agenda, but they will build upon what previous presidents have been able to do. Right. So it will be critical that when we are reflecting on comparing, we need to understand the situations, the conditions of the past, and don't just rush to compare and then you just leave, because sometimes you don't want to say the previous administration failed or it was the most successful, or this administration failed or it is the most successful. So Josh, President Weah, per his annual messages, per the proper agenda for prosperity and development, so that all of us can be able to come to a realistic condition. Because there's just something that sometimes people get conflicted, right? In terms of us journalists, for example, there is a study of Liberian journalism, and if you ask Liberian journalists, do you support, or is it the role of a journalist to support national development, you will see that almost 99.9% of Liberian journalists say we support national development. If you ask them, for example, is it a role of a journalist to support a government policy, they'll tell you it depends. It depends in the sense which type of policy. So no journalist is against development. If a policy like the proper agenda for prosperity and development is a policy of development and it is being implemented, no journalist will be against it. So what the journalists do report are a reflection of what is happening in society. So the State of the Republic address is an important address, and we'll analyze the address to see how it is. For instance, the issue of the fiscal envelope, right? In 2022, when President Weah delivered his State of the Republic address, he talked about a decline in the revenue intake, in as much the budget was one of the biggest envelope, right? So yes, it's a good, but you have to have the budget impacting the people of the country. And so if, for instance, you want to evaluate President Weah in terms of his entire 6 years, developmentally, you look at the state of poverty in the country. How has it changed? I think there was a government minister or somebody on air this morning, and he said that absolute poverty has declined by 8%, which is, of course, a good number in terms of the number of people that have been lifted out of poverty. Then you look at the state of inequality in Liberia. Income disparity could be one of the inequalities. The issue of gender inequality. I know my colleague was talking about the issue of the appointment of women in different categories of positions in society. It is very good for our country, because a country that is developing will have to be inclusive. Liberians went to civil war, and one of the factors was that the society was exclusive. It was not inclusive. That is why people said, no, we want to form part of the decision-making process of our country. For example, before 1946, most of us could not vote. Women could not vote. Today, you have women who are participating in the electoral process. Today, you have different categories of people who are participating in the politics of our country, which is a significant development. Then the issue of the presidency, I think President Weah also who need to comment on this policy that he made, a signature policy to give all Liberians citizenship. Once a Liberian, always a Liberian. I'm talking about the dual citizenship law, for example. Okay. And so that, I think in 2022, it was a debate. When we went to the referendum, it was defeated, but somehow the Supreme Court made an opinion, and then it was changed. And personally, there is a saying that you cannot deny a Liberian who took up another citizenship in any other nation until that person undergoes a due process.
There have been practice of what you're talking about. So today, Liberians in the diaspora can also hold on to.
They can hold on to their citizenship.
Right.
But on the other hand, you have to take them to court if you know that they have that particular citizenship, because the constitution is still there. It calls for it has the different steps.
We are not repeat that other aspect that say only people need.
No, the referendum, Liberians overwhelmingly rejected that particular law, but in the constitution it calls for due process, for example. So the due process then now is, if Joe has got an American citizenship, for example, and say you take that American citizen, that Liberian citizenship from him, you will have to go through a due process. Right? So the president, I think when he met President Biden recently at the U.S. Africa Summit, he made mention of that he's being able now to give diaspora Liberians who took up another citizenship that particular right to maintain their Liberian citizenship. And that is, of course, a good development for the country, because the issue about governance is about inclusion. It's having inclusion. All of us participate in the process.
It's about inclusion. I hold you right there. It's time about 23 minutes after 3 o'clock in the city of Monrovia. On maybe 35 minutes plus, we'll be joining State Radio to be able to come live with the president's State of the Nation address. They say State of the Republic address, actually.
Yes, that's how I would call it, because it is not really...
By law, is the State of the Republic.
Because in the US they have the State of the Union. No, State of the Union.
Okay,
so
in the US.
Okay. So James, let me come to you. What you can add that to your submission. You can add to your submission. Let me just come in quick. You can add to your submission. As we speak, what can the president boast about in terms of security in his address today?
Before we go to security, the first thing, when you go to Maryland County, Maryland is drawing 24-hour current. When you go to River G is enjoying 24-hour current.
But somebody was saying,
when you go, I'm giving you, only good government will come to power and build on what it meant. Only good government. And President Weah government is being responsible of doing those things. The entire Southeast, before Weah leave power, it will be electrified. We talk about road connectivities. We built over 600 kilometers roads in this country after we took over. The Locato Sanikore road, that road is an economic dividends to our country. The pavement from Ganta to Tapeta, Seklepe, Granger is again will bring economic dividends to the country. Leave that. Come to the Banga, Salai, Vonjima corridor. The same. Now we are focusing on a minute down in Lofa County. With the focus of this government in terms of development, in terms of bringing those basic necessities the people need to them, it's no one will look at that and say, President, we are and Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf on the same path in terms of development. Of course, Madam Sirleaf government came, they met everything down to the ground. But what was the support? There was more support coming in the country than ever before. Sirleaf administration received the highest support since Liberia was founded. And if you look around today, right in Monrovia, we are on the Billy Island Battery Factory corridor. We are trying to recondition the road from Freeport to the Broadville. We have so many challenges that we took over, but we saw those challenges before we requested for the job, which of course we acknowledge that. But we are doing better than ever before. You come to the schools. I said to you again, the government is building more schools than ever before. Come to the various colleges here. We just amended the law from Lofa Community College to now Lofa University. Grand Bassa also have a university, and this government is trying to increase the budget for those various colleges and the university. Even though we have a tight budget, we have a tight revenue generation and period because this entire Ukraine thing, but still, President Weah is focused on gender balanced. There's no government in the history of Liberia in the 20th century, in the 21st century, that gave women more opportunity than President Weah. President Weah is focused on balancing his government. President Weah is focused on developing his country. Just a few times. If you look at the fishermen that died on sea, just last year, over 150 fishermen died on sea because there was no life jacket. We brought a total stability to the fishing industry. We improved the fishing industry. We gave these guys then a machine to attach it to their fishing boat. Now we just give them life jackets. So Liberia will get to where President Weah want it to get to.
Liberia will get to where President Weah will get it to. Let's go quickly to back to Roland, because I want to engage the public. So far, so good with our discussion. So, Tina, tell us what you make of this, because he didn't address the issue of security, so you can just weigh in on it and maybe add another thought on it.
So thank you very much. I think in terms of security, to be sincere, we need to do much.
You don't think your phone part is this?
It will also, we need to do much.
So let me pick them up now. Let me see. What do you think the president is speaking of precisely today?
In terms of security.
Security, right.
The first thing, and people always misconstrue the president's statement when it comes to security. Because the first rule of security is yourself. When you are not feeling protected, you cannot protect anyone.
As I said, the first law of nature is self-preservation.
Exactly so. So the only way you can protect someone is yourself is being protected. In terms of security, like I said, we need to do much, because security it is broad. We got the security sector where we got police officer, we got the immigration, we got the NSC, you got all of the guys, the army and what have you. But the first security we need, it is the mindset towards things. When you have electricity here, this place will be free, people will move at night. It also provides security. So in terms of security, it is broadening. It is not just narrow. So I said we need to do much.
Quickly before you
To conclude,
I want you to have this. The issue of the people, you call them less fortunate, but I don't call them less fortunate. I call them people who choose to live the way they're living. Those are considered Zogo on the street. They choose to live their life. Less fortunate people are people who got their hands and legs cut off.
So I think I got my own policy on that. I got my own thought about it.
Let's hear you.
Like my brother said, every government has the focus, because when you don't have your objective and your point of focus, you not achieve. Coming to your question, for me, like you said, you don't call them less fortunate. Like I think I share similar view with you, because all of those that we refer to as less fortunate, they were fought about, let's say 14, 20 years back. Mm-hmm. So all of those guys that are on the street, some of them are below 18, 19, 20.
Right.
So I don't know which ambience, who is the cause for some of the guys. You not say most of them for what? Bulk of the guys on the street that we refer to as Zogo, bulk of them, 80 to 90%, they didn't see the war. They were all kids. Bulk of them, they are around 30, 25, 26. People who saw the war, when you say real Zogo or this, I know how to call them, disadvantage you, that people around 60, 70 who went caught, who fought the war and they have been traumatized. But bulk of the guys are on the street. For me, if it would just leave for me alone and take the whole issue of human rights, go back to Korea, get the guys off the street, get them Grand G there, let them make farm to ensure that we can get, you can take money where we need roads. People, you know, bulk of them come from a good family. 90% they come from very good homes. They chose to live on the street. They chose to follow peer pressure, and the burden keep coming on the government. Politicians want to use it to score glory. Politicians want to use it to score mark.
But don't you think it's at the detriment of you and myself sitting here in the studio?
Steve.
I come in. When you said detriment, I don't know what you're speaking of. You chose for me.
You said politicians using them to score.
So our mind, like I said, the first thing we need to do as Liberians to change our mindset. The mindset matters, because you will just leave the street and say, John, I don't know. The mindset need to be transformed. If the mindset is transformed, Liberia will be developed to the best of our. We have all of the resources. We have technical young people. We have people who are willing to serve. We have people willing to give their time. It's just the mindset that people, when somebody see you wear coat suit today, you wear something today nice, they try to envy you in the community. So the mindset must be transformed. The mindset must be renewed. Until then, we will still be where we are today, and we'll still be holding and putting. Persevere is doing his best. We are not saying all is rosy. Like you come and listen to this speech, there will be challenges, and there are challenges. But the only way we can overcome these challenges until we try to see each other as brothers. We try to see the reality and stop playing the normal politics out of it. When President Weah go dedicate someone in a hospital, you get issue with it. The hospital will eat. You know, you get in the mindset. Under this regime, people were paying rent. Today, the National Port of Authority, under this government, you have a headquarters that is feasible. Yes, that people had the resources they could not. You had Labrador Maritime, they were renting for someone. But today, Maritime has her own office. When you want to talk about Maritime, you say that building will eat. When you want to talk about the reform and policy that will affect us 2-3 years to come, when you raise it, people say that policy will eat. Where is the bread and butter issue? And so I can be asking, but when you say bread and butter, why are those things you're speaking of? Today, when you bring in any agricultural products or produce or machine in this country, you will not pay tax. Person, we are just issue executive order. You got duty free at the port. So for Liberia to be transformed and be developed, it is not just overnight.
It is not just overnight. Let's hold you then. Of course, the public want to be part of what we're doing up here in the studio. We got like 26 more minutes to go. Of course, we want to give the public the next maybe 10 minutes. Let's interact with them a little bit. What is it you make of what we're discussing here in the studio? We're doing a pre-analysis with respect to the President Penny's speech that will come in the next 27 to 28 minutes. So the number to call at 07765. Oh, sorry, 077 105 100 105. Am I online? 077.
Okay. So okay, so the numbers to call are 0777 105 100, or better still 0555 105 100.
Call us and let's hear from you. We're talking about the president's speech today, the Penny speech that will be coming the next 20 to 27 minutes. We want to hear from you Liberians out there, whatever you are. Okay. Oh, we lost the first caller. Please, when you call, make sure you lower your radio or your monitor there, because you don't destroy our ears in studio. 077.
Yeah, 077. Okay, we have this person.
Hello. Hello. Yeah, your name and where you calling from, sir?
Okay, I'm basically calling from Ghana Street.
Okay, what you make of the speech today? Of course, my panelists in here in the studio. Oh, we lost that call again.
One of the things when you look at, we were talking about these guys that we call the Zogo. If you look at them directly as government, we are planning a package for them, a package in getting them to a center that rehabilitate them. Look, Liberians, even though those guys was not born during the wartime, but still, as a society, as a government, we have an obligation. We have an obligation to them.
Okay, do you know who you there? I think I have a caller on the line. Who you there quickly? I have a caller on the line. Hello, do I have that caller? Do I have that caller? No, my phone is. Oh no. Somebody, I can't take my private line actually. We got a studio line, please. Anybody that want to call, please call the studio line. I can't take call on my private line, please. So I beg, I can't take calls on my private line. So please call the studio line.
Here you have a call.
Okay, hello, your name and where you calling from? Oh, why my calls are dropping? I'm wondering what's the problem. 077 105 100. Okay, hello. Hello.
Hello, am I live on ABC Radio?
Yeah, you are live on ABC Radio. Your name and where you calling us from?
I'm Newman.
Your line is actually breaking. Actually, I'm not getting you. Please, shift yourself a little bit or relocate yourself.
I'm Terry Sona.
Okay. Okay, go ahead. Let's hear a submission.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate your panelists as it relates to the President Nation address today, especially to the President of the Union. He spoke excellent when we speak about the issue of mindset as it relates to our democratic space for improving as a human in this country. And that caught my attention when we spoke about the issue of corruption. And myself, I've been wondering if there's a corruption like it's I would like to see also keep the open the space and get those guys and on the issue of corruption in this country. And I think in the issue of how the government security many things about security, and I think that with the draft we have some
Okay, thank you from Doe Community. Our caller, we have another caller on the line. That's 0777105 and of course 0555105 number to call. You'll be live up on ABC Radio. We're discussing with respect to the president State of the Republic address that will be coming up in the next 24 or 25 minutes from now. So be a part of. Let's hear from you. My panelists in the studio, we've been talking about various issues that have to do with what we think will be part of the president's speech. So be a part as we await the speech in the next 20 to 25 minutes. 0777105 and 0555105 number to call. Call and you'll be live. So I don't know why we're waiting the call. Jim,
so as I was saying,
yeah,
we as government have the responsibility to fund a rehabilitation home for these guys. One, because the drugs they're taking, we're supposed to be stopping the drugs from entering Liberia. And some of these guys do these things on peer pressure. So as government, it's our responsibility, it's our obligation to get it a safe home, to get an area that they can be changed, that we can flush those things from them. Let's go back to the president. Today, other people may be saying it's his final State of the Union or his address to the legislature. But mind you, this president, many Liberians believe and still believe in this president because of the workings from the day he took over, he touched the ground, and he began to do what the Liberian people thought of him.
But you mean the reality is that
he talked about security.
The 6 year will be ending this.
Thank you very much.
October.
That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
If I visited the 14 Sorado, the 14 county, we wanted to know what our government did and what are some of the things that people still looking at for us to touch. I'm saying before President Weah leave power, out of the 15 counties, 60% will have electricity, which of course the previous government never did. Again, hospitals in the various counties. Look at County of River G. People come from Ivory Coast to come take treatment in River G. Our focus is to rebuild the health center in River G. People come from Cote d'Ivoire again to come to Grangere. The Mata Totman Memorial Hospital in Grangere cannot host those people. So we are building a 100-bedroom hospital in Grangere. Again, our former president, William R. Tobo Jr., started the Motolito High Schools. That was okay. He began it. But did our other leaders saw that as best for our education sector? Because you go in other countries, you don't need to go to other countries, you don't need to go far up at university level. You go to trade schools. Now our government is focused. Before this tenure ends, 60% of our counties will have a functioning multilateral schools there. You talk about what?
Are you talking about the next 7 to 8 to 10
I'm talking about the next 10 months.
The next 10 months.
Yes. Yes.
We can hold you at that.
Yes, Maryland.
We can take the words to the bank.
I'm telling you, you can take that words to the bank. Now, Maryland, but by next week, I'll be in Maryland County. The dedication of the Metropolitan High School in Maryland County will soon start. Will take place in next month. We have Greenville. We have Vonjima. I said every county is being touched. The only thing, people sit in Moravia and feel nothing is happening. And Moravia is not Liberia. Again, we are moving in the port sector. Under this government, we bought a parcel of land in Nima County to open a dry port in Nima County. That dry port will bring more economic achievement to this country. More. Our focus, this new administration of the National Port Authority, focus is to dredge the Harper Port, because before the war, there were logging company moving at the port of Harper. There were more shipment. So this current administration is looking at that area, how to focus and develop in this term. We will transform those things that the Liberian people feel that needed to be transformed. Let me move to what is happening in Moravia.
Let me hold you that you have a call on the line. Hello? Yeah, fam, I'm okay. Your name, where you calling us from, caller?
My name is Domingo from the magazine.
Okay. How can you be part of our discussion here in the studio, sir? Okay, I want to say thank you for being part of our discussion here in the studio. Gentlemen, time is fast spent because I'll have to go back to our correspondent up there in at the Capitol building, sorry. And go. Let's say the next 7 to 8 minutes. Let's go around the table again while we try to round up on this thing. So starting from you, no, you just spoke. Let me just go to Julius, then I'll come back to Julius. What will be your concluding statement with respect to what is based so far the discussion we have been going through?
Well, the president will have to be sincere, honest, and much more focused in terms of what has been able to happen under his administration in 2022. And then, if he would like to sum up his 6-year rule, I mean, because we still have some more months to go, in fact, like a year to go, because after the elections, inauguration will take place in 2024. You have to reflect very critically. We expect politically he might do like Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in 2011 to say that yes, I'll be in this particular 2023 elections. He might be like official, meaning publicly, although he has been official, because it came. I mean, because President Sirleaf, she had promised to go for one term, and so in 2011 she was faced with multiple questions and multiple demands from her partisans of the Unity Party, from all the Liberians, for her to go to for a second term. President Weah, to my knowledge and for the record, I've not heard him say he'll go for one term, but but he has been indicating visibly that yes, he'll be seeking re-election. So he might want to use the national platform at the legislature, because the legislature is a territorial power sharing arrangement wherein you have different people from different territories, from different constituencies, they converge. So he might want to use that particular occasion to sell his second term. And of course, I mean, that'll be political. So he might want to speak about the issue of elections, the free and fair, transparent, credible nature of election. That will be critical, because when he met President Biden, the US government has been pushing President Weah and like many other presidents around the world to respect democratic processes. And President Weah, to my knowledge, he's been respecting democratic processes. So he might, yes, and that is critical. So he might want to focus on the politics of elections, that we need free, fair, transparent elections, but also the issue of electoral violence, and that has to do with the question of security, right? We will need the government to be as conclusive on reports regarding electoral violence, because there have been many different incidents of electoral violence. We've not been able to get conclusive reports. And so the president might want to use his State of the Republic address to brief us about some of those findings, which of course could be important, because in 2023 October we need a peaceful elections. And one thing we did not comment on, I think perhaps we might have said it in terms of security, is the stability of the country. The nation has been stable under President Weah, like it was under Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf as president. And so it's a collective effort by all of us Liberians, and we thank the government. By the government, I mean the three branches of government. We also thank the civil society, the public, for the level of stability in our country, because below 2003 and up to 1989, Liberia was totally in a state of chaos, a state of disorder. And so we've had two democratically elected governments that have come to power, and they're now being able to make Liberia a peaceful society. That is critical, security-wise. I mean, we've not had, in the most recent time, any political parties that would like to take power through arms or through the guns, the barrel of the guns. What we've had is that this sort of a contentious politics, meaning go to elections, say all of the rhetorics, President Weah has failed, President Weah has succeeded, but in the end, Liberians who have to make the voting decision. And so that will be done. Okay. So the president should be able to comment on the elections in terms of the issue of electoral violence and how we can be able to prevent that, to have a stable country, in that for democracy to be consolidated fully in Liberia.
Thank you very much. Let's
okay. First of all, let me once again say thank you very much to Fidel. I think there's total reform here, taking ABC radio from up Brush Street and bringing it here. I feel we are getting there. And today, as I said, we will follow the president State of the Union address. After that, because what we're doing here, we are only assuming on what will be said by him. I do believe that Liberians deserve what they need, and we are working towards it as government. And President Weah will tell the Liberian people the 4th of February that he contesting, because he will accept our petition. So he don't even need to do it at Capitol Building. So today he will be focused at the legislature.
So you're talking about 1 million members.
I'm telling you, 1 million. 1 million. So we are focused on giving our legislative agenda for the year 2000. So today we will not play politics. We will tell the legislature the state of the national economy. We will tell the legislature the security sector, what are some of the things that we have done in the security sector, in the health sector, in the mining sector, every sector in the Republic of Liberia. He will touch those things. So after he finishes with that, we'll come back and go into it deeper. Thank you very much. And thank you to my fellow panelists.
So, Mr. Thanks very much to the ABC family. I think it is a pleasure being here. And I'm also grateful we from the Veterans Bureau in Buildup Avenue extend our sincere thanks to the ABC family. I think we are grateful for everything. just to conclude, there are few things that I know that my leader, our leader, will touch on. Number one is the peace. Everywhere, every little gathering that President Weah was given the opportunity to talk to cross section of Liberians in and out of Liberia, his number one message has always been peace, peace, and peace. So today's message, the total summary of today's message will center around peace, upholding the rule of law, maintaining the democracy we fought for, maintaining the peace and a smooth, if possible, transition. Because when President Weah had the opportunity to talk to the people of Guinea, he spoke of peace. He spoke of smooth transition in the western region. As tend to be corrected, President Weah has been the only president who condemned the issue of coup in Africa. He went at America, he went France, he went Paris, he went, I think, China. No, America, Paris with all African summary. He was bold enough to take on the international stage to condemn the issue of coup. So today's focus, today's primary objective will be peace today, peace tomorrow. The next thing President Weah will speak on is about free, fair, and transparent election. Over the years, our president have proven it. He have shown to the world that his ability to lead this place must depend on the ordinary people trusting him with their vote. Giving a space and example to 2020 when Senator Abraham Darius Dillon won the heart and soul of Mosorado County, where people say the hope of CDC is Mosorado. Other government they could have transformed and changed the election by being a leader who always wanting to see Liberians, voice being heard, were able to maintain, uphold a free, fair, and transparent election. So President Weah will also speak about this coming election and encourage us Liberians to be peaceful and stay off violence. To conclude, President Weah will also speak of the health sector, because when the legislature portion the resources to maintain the health facility, to maintain the schools, to maintain the free tuition policy, depends on the legislature. So he will also be called on the legislature to ensure that the legislature work with him, that the free education policy, the free tuition, and all public university be ensured a pass into law. So let's say thank you very much. We hope and pray for the betterment of Liberia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of our discussion today. I have in studio to meet today James Cooper from Vice Chair, Ways, Means and Finance of the Coalition of Democratic Change, of course, MPP. And of course, Julius Kanama is a specialist in development and governance, and of course, a journalist as well. And I have Roland Tibet, who is the head of the Veteran Bureau, Megube Avenue. And we have on the line there Jackson Clay. Jackson Clay, please, the time is fast spent, so tell us exactly in the next 3 minutes before we take leave of this platform, what is unfolding now?
So currently, the president has just arrived. He's on the grounds of the Capitol building. The joint legislature of the 54th National Legislature has commenced section. So the speaker has already entertained the motion, and the agenda has been read already. A motion or information was denied from Representative Yeke Kolba of District Number 10. So as we speak, section has started, and we are shortly awaiting the arrival. The escorting of President Weah by executive of both chambers, both the House of Representatives and the Liberian Senate, to take to the podium, at which time he will commence the delivery of the Sona.
So this means that nobody entering again, nobody getting up because the chief executive.
Absolutely nobody right now. So everything is at a standstill, because the chief executive in President George Panda, we has already entered the grounds of the Capitol building, and shortly he will be making his way upstairs to the joint chamber where he will be delivering his State of the Nation address.
Thank you very much, Jackson Clay, our correspondent from that. And so we okay, please hold on for another question there. My producer want to find out something for you.
Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm here.
So let me ask you, the motion that was denied by Honorable Yeke Koluba, what does it mean for the John section?
So he raised the hand to say motion for information, and then immediately he did not say anything. So the speaker denied him automatically. You know, Representative Koluba has been one controversial representative since his election, and he has been a strong critic of the We Are Led administration. So I think it was in the line where Speaker Chimo was trying to protect the chief executive, the president, to avoid Representative Koluba making unwarranted, maybe according to him, could be information that would not suit the occasion, so it was denied.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you again to our audience out there. I want to say thank you all for following up. But in the next 3 to 4 minutes, we'll be joining State Radio to bring you live the President's State of the Republic address. On behalf of the entire team, my name is Joe Nutua Wanda. We'll be here tomorrow for the post, speech of the president, where I'll have in studio again another group of panelists will be able to discuss and dissect those things that the president will be talking about today. So thank you for being there. Bye bye, and have a pleasant afternoon.
Thank you, Chief.
We'll see you guys, man.
There you have it. Join the station within the next few minutes. We hope to bring you live the President's State of the Nation's address today. And so keep following our broadcast. You're listening to the Atlantic Broadcasting Corporation, all right?
Demon.